So we're looking at Lesson Master 8.3a worksheet, and we are going to be looking at the quotient of powers property, reviewing for our quiz. So let's jump right in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to write the numerator and denominator in expanded form to show why this property works. So rewriting this one, I've got m to the 8th on top. That's m times m times m 8 times. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then m to the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's expanded form. And then we're going to simplify the fraction. So we're going to show that these cancel. So 5 of them will cancel because there's 5 on the bottom, leaving 3 on the top. So my final answer here is m to the 3rd. And if we look back, quotient of powers property says we can subtract our exponents when we're dividing similar bases. So 8 minus 5 is 3. All right, for number 2, how do we write this one in expanded form? The 21 does not have an exponent. I mean, it does, it's a 1, but it doesn't have some other exponent. So it's just going to stay 21 times a to the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, times b to the 3rd. So times b. On the bottom, again, the 3 doesn't have an exponent, so it's just 3. A to the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, times b to the 1st. So for part B, we're going to simplify. 21 divided by 3, 7. Canceling our a's. I always like to think about where are there more. So there's more on the top. That's where they're going to be left over. So these 5 on the bottom are going to cancel 5 on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that means there's 2 left over. So that's a to the 2nd. Looking at my b's, there's less on the bottom, so that's how many are going to cancel. So this b is going to cancel one of these. Everything else stays, so it's b to the 2nd power. All right, so now using those powers, because again, we can look back. 7 minus 5 gave me the 2. 3 minus, there's a 1 here, gave me the 2. So let's go ahead and just use that. So we have a similar base here of -9. So when I divide similar base, I'm going to go ahead and subtract my exponents. So this is going to be -9 raised to the, and I would have to subtract it. Now they're not numbers, so I'm going to express it as m minus n because that's what I would do with the numbers in that situation. All right, looking at scientific notation, not too worried about how you simplify here. If I go ahead and divide 6.02 by 2, that's going to be 3.01. What's important is that we understand the power of 10. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just subtract here. And so 23 minus 19 is going to be 4. So if you left it like that, that's fine. If you went ahead and actually multiplied this out to get a single number, not in scientific notation anymore, that comes out to 30,100. Just like on the last homework, not overly concerned with that. I'm not going to throw that on the quiz. The whole point is here, do we understand that even though this is scientific notation, we are dealing with powers. Property holds true. When you're dividing similar bases, you're going to subtract the exponent. That's what we're looking at here. That's the most important part. So here, subtracting your exponents, that's just a to the 5th. Here, similar base, just subtracting your exponents, that's n to the 13th. Okay, when we read these as division, we read from top to bottom. So be careful. This is not 6 divided by 2 is 3. This is 2 divided by 6, which comes out to not such a great decimal. So we're not going to express this as a decimal. We're going to simplify this. So 2 over 6 would simplify to 1/3. So that's going to be in my final answer. I'm going to have this 3 on the bottom. Before I put the 1 up there, I probably don't need it, okay, because I don't need a 1 as a coefficient. Now, if this was completely blank, like let's say these r's completely canceled out, then I would need that 1 there for sure. But if I take a look, I have r to the 5th, and I'm going to have r to the 1st, and that's going to be r to the 4th, right? And it stays up top, and that's going to be your final answer right there. So you don't need the 1 in front of it, but it's not incorrect to put it there. When I divide here, this is 32 divided by -1. That's -32. W to the 10th, W to the 10th cancel. So my final answer is just -32. Okay, when I divide here, a negative and a negative is a positive. I can cancel that. But 14 divided by 4 is not a nice number. So I'm going to simplify that. Divide those 14 and the 4 by 2. So I'm going to get a 7 on top, and I'm going to get a 2 on the bottom. A to the 5th, a to the 4th, subtract. That's a to the 1st. B to the 3rd minus b to the 1st, and that is b to the 2nd. Looks just like that. Leave it as a fraction. Dividing here, well, we talked about when we have numbers ending in 0 and you divide, the zeros fall off, so it's 14 over 1. So it's going to leave me a 14 on top. And if you take a look, if you thought about these in expanded form, there's less m's on the bottom, there's less n's on the bottom, well, actually the same amount, which means all of them are going to cancel. So there's nothing left on the bottom. I don't need to express this as a fraction. 11 minus 7 is m to the 4th. 3 minus 3 is 0. These cancel themselves out. Final answer looks just like that. All right, so now a couple questions where you have to kind of think outside the box a little bit, not just here's the property, do the math. So number 11, write an algebraic fraction to which the quotient of powers property can be applied to simplify to this. So what we're doing is just working backwards. This is the answer to a problem. We need to write the original as a quotient of powers property. So I'm going to be dividing something and I have to get this. Let's start with the coefficient. I'm going to go ahead and put a 10 on top and a 2 on the bottom. Right? If you just copied off the answer key, it had 20 over 4 because 20 divided by 4 is 5. Well, 10 divided by 2 is also 5. So I'm coming up with my own question that simplifies down to this. Now I have to end up with n to the 4th. I'm going to go ahead and put an n on the top and the bottom, and when I subtract, I need to get 4. So I'm just going to make up something. With 12 on top, I'm going to put 8 on the bottom because when I subtract that, I get to the 4th. So mine looks nothing like the one that they had in the answer key, but mine does simplify to this, so we're good. Number 12, explain how to use the quotient of powers property to find the value of x in this problem. So we know we are subtracting here, and we're getting a 5. So they explained it in words in the answer key. They said, think of a number that if you take 7 away, you're left with 5. Okay, that number is 12. But I'm going to say that x minus 7 equals 5. If I subtract my exponents, x minus 7, I know I have to get 5. And if I go ahead and I solve this, I get x equals 12. So if you looked at the answer key, they explained it in words. I'm going to explain it with an equation. Both are fine. 13, Marco tries to simplify this fraction and he gets n to the 4th. Explain the error that he makes. So he saw division. And he divided the exponents. But he should have subtracted.